What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got some more Entitled Parents stories for you, so sit back, relax, and let's get straight into them. Entitled Mum calls police on my daughter for not playing with her daughter. This is my first time posting. I will try to keep the story short and to the point, but there does have to be some backstory for context. Here we go. This happened about 12 years ago. I had just moved to a small town. My 10-year-old daughter made friends with a girl down the block. The girl didn't have many friends because her mum was drama and nobody in the neighborhood wanted to deal with her. I didn't want to punish the entitled mum's daughter for her mum's behavior, and our daughters were thick as thieves in no time. About 6 months later, my daughter comes home from their house crying. Apparently over an argument over who got to play with what Barbie, the other girl called my daughter an N-word. Oh wow. When my daughter became quite visibly upset, the girl told my daughter something to the effect of, "It's not a bad thing, it's just what my mum says you and your mum are when you act like you are better than us. Just stop acting better and you won't be an N-word." Wow. The entitled mum called pretty quickly to apologize for her daughter talking out of turn and sharing personal family conversations. I explained to her that I was okay with the girls still being friends as long as the four of us could have a sit down and just kind of talk through why that word would be so hurtful to my kid. She agreed, but made comments that made me feel she thought I was overreacting. At the end of our conversation, I made it very clear our daughters would not be around each other until the sit down happened. The entitled mum snaps. "This is what's wrong with you people, always playing the race card and making a mountain out of a molehill. You aren't going to punish my daughter because you can't get over yourself." I hung up and that was the end, or so I thought. 1 month later, my daughter is at the park down the street from our house with the neighbor and her kids. I'm cleaning my house when I get a phone call from the neighbor. The neighbor said, "Oh my god, the entitled mum is here. She is screaming that the kids can't ignore her kid at a public place. By law, they have to play with her daughter. I'm packing up and coming back, just letting you know this female dog is acting nuts. Do you need me to come?" "Nah, I'm ignoring her. We will be home in a sec." 2 minutes later, I get another call and can hear screaming in the background. It was the neighbor again. "You won't freaking believe this. She called the police on your daughter. The cops are here. You need to get down here." I arrive and my daughter is shaking and crying, thinking she has done something wrong. The entitled mum is screaming like a mad woman at the top of her lungs about how my daughter being in a public place means she has to play with her daughter. "So what are you going to do about this? Are you seriously just going to let this girl stay at the park when she is refusing to play with my daughter?" The police officer said, "Mom, I'm sorry, but as I was saying, there is no law that kids have to play with each other in public parks. If she doesn't want to play with your daughter, she doesn't have to." The entitled mum grabs at the walkie-talkie thing on the cop's shoulder. "I want to speak to your sergeant or commanding officer or whatever. Someone needs to come do their freaking job." The officer called his commanding officer. I was stunned. I asked if my daughter could sit in my car as she was visibly shaken. He said she could, which of course sent the entitled mum on another rant. The commanding officer pulls up as she is screaming about how my daughter needs to get out the car and play with her child. What, right there and then? The commanding officer comes over and the officer is trying to explain to him what's going on as she is screaming a foot away. He comes over to me and I tell him the backstory on how this all started. Then he says to me, "At this point, I don't see a reason for you to have to still be here. You can take your daughter home." The entitled mum then turns bright red. "This is why they are like this. Nobody holds them accountable for anything they do. She should at least get a ticket or something." I don't know what was said after all of that. Me, the neighbor, and our kids got out of there quick. I did start looking for an apartment right away and found something about 2 months later. While I was packing, I got a call from the entitled mum. I let it go to voicemail. "I hear you're moving. I just wanted you to know if you or any of your kids walk by my house before then, I'm calling the police for harassment. I don't even care if it's James, my son that was 2 at the time. And I can't wait to hear what stupid rubbish you have to say about this when you call me back." I'm not gonna lie, I was tempted to call back but didn't. We moved a week later, thankfully. Alright, clearly this entitled mum is just insane. This story is pretty funny, but I'm not gonna lie, it is also quite sad. The fact that you had to move out of your neighborhood, OP, just because of this one racist, horrible neighbor neighbor is just a travesty. If it were me, I would have tried to catch her saying something racist and then recorded it. That is illegal. You can't do that. What I'm saying is, I don't think that you should have had to leave your neighborhood just because one of your neighbors was openly racist towards you. That's not how society should work. Fair enough, maybe you had no other option, but I don't know, you should have stuck around for a bit and tried to get some real justice, in my opinion. Guys, let me know down below, what would you have done in this situation? I don't know, it's a tough one. Anyway, with that, let's move on to our next story. Entitled Mum says, I don't need a car, even though I'm an essential worker, then tries to steal it. Hey again guys, I'm sorry if this seems like a long rant, but I'm so furious right now. I need to get this off my chest. A little backstory. Right now, I'm a student in college pursuing a degree in child developmental psychotherapy. This semester, I got an internship at a local mental hospital so I could get experience and make it easier for me to get into grad school later on. The hospital I work at isn't just a facility for short-term patients though. Some of the people who live there are permanent residents, ranging in age from 6 to 78. For various reasons, but I won't name specifics out of respect for our residents' privacy. Basically, our goal is to do everything possible to help people recover from a mental illness/episode, and to provide a comfortable quality of life for our permanent residents. Needless to say, I deeply enjoyed my internship there. After the initial COVID-19 outbreak, all internships within the hospital were suspended until further notice, so I stopped going for a good 3 weeks and tried to focus on school. Then one of my old bosses called me, in tears, filling me in on the current state of the hospital. There have been 3 positive cases of COVID-19, out of which 2 had passed away. 12 employees had quit or simply not come into work at all anymore. And to top it all off, there was a surge in people admitting themselves or others to the facility. A good chunk of people admitted were children whose parents claimed they had some form of mental defect, although I suspect that they simply didn't know what to do with them. Once she had finally told me about the situation, I immediately begged her to put me on the next work schedule. She agreed, and I've been working there ever since. Wow, what a good person you are. Now, I don't want to come across as arrogant or pretending to be a martyr or anything like that. In all honesty, I think I am very underqualified compared to someone with actual medical experience and or training. But all I know is that these people at this hospital are dependent on us for care, support, love and help. And I will be god danged if I just sit by and watch bad things happen to these people. Simple as that. Sorry for the long backstory, on to the actual story. Well, I'm sure it was relevant. Now, ever since I started working at the hospital, my hours have been absolutely insane. There have been times where I've spent 48 to 50 hours straight at the building, wow. I eat when I can, I sleep at 3-hour intervals so I can get up in the middle of the night and check on our residents and patients. I do my virtual lectures and homework while organizing patient files. As awful and maybe selfish as this sounds, I do try to get on my Switch around midnight and take care of my Animal Crossing town. I'm weak. Basically, I'm lucky if I'm able to spend 30 hours at my home. That's where our entitled mother, EM, comes into the picture. If you've read the edit on my last entitled mum post, yes, it is the same woman, you already know this, but if you didn't, basically she got arrested for drug possession and subsequently lost custody of her son. Ever since, she has been absolutely desperate to get custody of him again. So, she has been scrambling between family members, trying to acquire things that make her look like a responsible parent. Baby gates, child safety locks, a new fridge, a new bed, countless new toys, I could go on and on. However, she went to her dad, my stepdad, for the most expensive thing she needed, a car. My stepdad refused because he was recently laid off because of the pandemic and we can't really afford to be buying something so expensive and not even be able to use it. I've been giving a portion of my paychecks to my parents to help ease the burden. It's not much in the grand scheme of things, but it's enough. I don't think we're in trouble financially, but if worse came to worse, I would start giving 100% of my paycheck to them. After this conversation, the entitled mum drove to our house. Yes, drove. She had a car. She then tried to plead her case with my stepdad again. I was sleeping in my room at this point, but my stepdad told me about the conversation and it basically went like this. Dad, please, I wouldn't be asking if it wasn't important. You already have a car though. Yeah, but it's not an awesome car. I need one with heated seats and built-in GPS. I don't think a judge would really care what kind of car you have as long as it's a car. You are so selfish. I need this so I can get my son back and you aren't even willing to help. How could you let my baby be taken away without helping me get him back? Don't you think your grandson deserves something nice after what he's been through? I can't afford it. I'm sorry. Even if I wanted to, I can't do anything. Then let me have OP's car. OP needs that car to go to work. She's an essential worker. That's debatable. Making sure some psycho doesn't off themselves isn't really essential. I bet she doesn't even do anything anyways. She's probably just lying about the job so she can go get high or F some dude. Dad, I'm your daughter. She is nothing but some half-breed. I'm mixed race. And a female dog. Just give me the car. The answer is no. Get out. Figure this out for yourself. I'm not helping you. I thought the situation was over after that conversation. Nope. I don't know how she did it, but the entitled mum got my work's address and went there while I was working. I was on hour 5 of an 18-hour shift when my boss took me aside and told me that my car had been vandalized and she had called the police. When I went to look outside, I saw the entitled mum handcuffed and arguing with a police officer in front of my car. Apparently, she had tried to steal my car by breaking the driver's side window and attempting to hotwire my car. When she couldn't hotwire it, she got out, broke one of my taillights, then keyed a word that I morally refused to even type on my driver's side door. As pathetic as this sounds, I started sobbing as soon as I saw the damage. Maybe it was the lack of sleep catching up to me, maybe it was the shock. All I know is that I was gross crying in front of my boss, EM, and the police. The entitled mum was yelling things at me, but I couldn't tell you what they were if I tried. I just went into autopilot. I gave my statement to the police, confirmed that I wanted to press charges, called a tow for my poor car, and took an Uber home. I honestly hope that was the end of her BS for at least a while, because I don't think I can handle any more of everything right now. I fixed my car as much as I could on my budget. I had an extra tail light, so I put it in. I put a trash bag over the broken window and used duct tape to cover up the word she keyed into my door. Sure, it looks super ugly, but it still runs. I'm just thankful that she didn't cut anything important. The ironic thing is, my stepdad's family is talking about pooling money together so they can get me a new car. When my stepdad asked me if I had any preferences, I told him I wanted heated seats and a built-in GPS. Oh, sweet karma. Bail hasn't been set yet on the entitled mum, but all I know is that after this, she is not getting her son back. I'm happy for that though. That boy deserves so much more than she could give, and maybe now he will get it. Thanks for listening to my rant, you guys. Stay safe out there. Oh man, what an incredible story. Honestly, the work that people in healthcare are doing right now just goes so under the radar, even though we are now finally appreciating it. Still, what they are doing is just incredible. To have an entitled person like that ruin and disregard all the good stuff you are doing is just so mental to me. Why can't they just be appreciative of what you're doing that is so good? Honestly, now without being disrespectful to people that actually do need the care, I think that this mum should be in a psycho or a mental hospital. Oh, come on. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Entitled Parents. I really hope you have enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure that this is actually my 334th video. I might be wrong, but I think I'm about right. So we're a third of the way to 1,000. If you guys want to watch all of my other videos, maybe some of you are new and are bored during quarantine and want something to do, they're on the screen right now in that playlist. If not, make sure you are subscribed anyway for daily videos on my channel.